So more vocabulary in 15.7, we're going to learn a word called congruence. All right, so copy the figures. Are the figures the same size and shape? Well, hopefully in number 1, you see two line segments that are both 12 inches long. So they're the same size and they're the same shape. They're a line segment. In number 2, you see two angles that are both 43 degrees. So they are both angles and they are both the same size angles, 43 degrees. So the twisting of it doesn't matter. And lastly, we have two triangles, two right triangles, and they seem to have the exact same size. And if they have the same exact size, they also have the same exact angles, by the way. And so they are the same shape, a right triangle, and they're the same size. Yes. And the concept here is called congruence. It's the name of the lesson. I've been avoiding saying this word because I hadn't taught you this lesson yet. I've been saying the same, but the way we say the same in geometry is congruent. So we say things are congruent with a T. The concept is congruence. If we rotate an object, is it any different? Not really. We say it's rotated, but we say it's congruent. All right, so there's some notations. So notice this symbol. That doesn't mean equals. Right? It's an equal sign with a tilde on top, also known as a squiggly line. And you read that top statement as line segment AB is congruent to line segment XY. And that means we don't know what their length is, but they're exactly the same length, those two line segments. They're congruent. If where angles are congruent, we write it that way. Angle A and angle X are congruent, or angle A is congruent to angle X. We don't know what measure they are, but we know they're the same. So which two figures in our first one are congruent? Well, the two ones that are 2 inches, but I want you to write one of these statements. So we're going to write something like this up here, right? So we're going to say line segment DE is congruent to line segment ST, right? That one's a different length, not congruent. For these two, the two that are congruent are angle A is congruent to angle C. They are both the same measure. Triangles are congruent if all three angles and all three sides are congruent. Everything has to match. What does this say? It says the two triangles are congruent. So I'm saying they're the same. I've just flipped it over. And so this thing over here is called a congruence statement. And you have to match the letters and you have to match everything up. So let's see that. So what's this question mark here? If they match, right? Well, this side is 3 and this side is 4. So this question mark must be 5, right? Because they're congruent. All three sides are the same. All three angles are the same. So this one's 90 and that one's 90. They match. And there's two 53s. Oh, this question mark here must be 37. All right, so we filled in the missing stuff. Now, when you write the congruent statement, you have to match everything up. So A, which angle matches A and the other one? E. You have to put E first. Have to. You don't have choice. Then B is second. So which angle matches B? X. So X goes second. And which angle matches C? It's T. And so you would say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EXT. The order totally matters. And so the secret is to look at the angles. The sides have to match as well, but that doesn't help you write the congruent statement. It's the angles that do it. So there are two right answers here, and let's try to figure out why. All right, so I see a 70-degree angle, and a matching one there. I see a 55 and a 55 here. So, and there are two 55s. This is an isosceles triangle. It has two angles the same. And we have a 2 here, and a 2, and a 2, and a 2.5. All right. But what we don't know here, we don't know if I took the first triangle, PQR, and flipped it to make the other triangle, or spun it, rotated it. We don't know because of the two 55 degrees. So there are two right answers here. So let's see this. So what matches P? Well, P matches what? It matches S, but it also matches G, right? Because they're both, okay? Now Q is the 70, so we have to put M in the middle of both. And then obviously we have to put the one that's left, SMG or GMS, on the other one. Right? Each of the angles has to match up. Each of the sides will also automatically match up or correspond. Right, so these little marks here are called tick marks. If two line segments have the same amount of tick marks, that means they're congruent. So which two are congruent? These two are congruent. So we would say CD, line segment CD, is congruent to line segment WX. We don't know how long they are, but we know they're the same length through those tick marks. Here, these are called arc marks, right? Arc is part of a circle. And so we can see that angle F is congruent, oops, I just wrote approximately to, congruent to angle N, right? Because they both have two arc marks. All right, so when you get tick marks, things can get awfully messy. But two of these are congruent. Which two? Well, it's sort of easy because there's nothing, no other sides with 4. So that's the one that doesn't match. But now you have to write everything in order. So let's write the first one ABC. You don't have to. If you don't write ABC, you write CBA first, then you're going to get a different answer than me. Because everything has to match. So what matches A? Well, Q matches A, so we'll put Q first. B matches G, and C matches F. Now, I didn't even look at the sides, but the truth is they have to match up as well. They will. AB here has one tick mark. QG will also have the same tick mark if we've done it correctly. Right, because the angles and the sides, all three angles and all three sides have to be the same. Similarly, BC here is the same as GF. They both have 2. And lastly, of AC is the same as QF. Okay. So now we're going to take this to the next level. We're going to take the pictures away. I'm telling you in this congruence statement that if triangle ABC is congruent to GJM, then what? Well, A has to be congruent to G because they're both first. And angle B has to be congruent to angle J. Has to be because they're second. And angle C has to be congruent to angle M. Have to be. Same with the sides. AB must be congruent to GJ. Now, when you do sides, you can switch the order of the letters, but why would you? Let's keep A and G always in the same spot as each other, and so on. And BC is congruent to JM. And you can say that as side JM or line segment JM, either way. And then CA is congruent to the side MG. Right. So we're going to complete this congruous statement. So I made the first one ZJLB, so we'll all get the same answer. So I put Z first. So what is matching in the matches Z? Y. What matches J? T. What matches L? C. What matches B? N. So that's quadrilateral. ZJLB is congruent to quadrilateral. Quadrilateral is a 4-sided figure. Lateral meaning side, quad meaning 4. Congruent to YTCN. Okay, so this is triangle QRS must be congruent to what matches Q, T, what matches R, U, and interestingly, S matches S. Now, be careful of this, and I did this one. You could make pictures where, I want to make sure I do this right. Here, I could do it like that. Those are congruent, but this S and this S don't match, right? If someone's doing something tricky to you, be careful of it. S does not have to match S in the other one, which is weird. Which two triangles are congruent? Well, I don't see anything with 4 on the other one, so I think that it's these two. So we have choice here, so I'm going to say triangle. By the way, you can do the symbol for triangle. I'm going to call it triangle PKZ is congruent to triangle. What matches P? T. So you don't have to start with the one that's one arc mark. Typically you do, but you don't have to, right? K was second, so S is the other 90 degree, and Z goes with W. So I did triangle PKZ is congruent to triangle TSW. Triangle MOR is congruent to triangle LES, and angle M is 90, so that one's 90, and angle O is 30, and angle R is 60, right? What is the measure of angle E? Well, E is the one that matches O, so it must be, the angle E must equal 30 degrees. Now notice how I wrote equals there, not congruent, right? You would write angle O is congruent to angle E, but you would write the measure of angle E is equal to, that's congruent. Measure of angle E is 30 degrees. All right, good luck on the homework.